that separates us all, or is it conviction? The writing's on the wall. Surely this won't hurt. No, not after all they've been through. We're sleeping through the storm again, for we know not what we've done. What I found.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill's season ticket holder, Drew Gear. That over there is my producer, Chris Kruger. And I gotta tell you, I feel like I just caught Bill's DUI. Attention, everyone. Please check on your friends. That is how you start this podcast. There's no other way around it. Welcome to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder, Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. And we are here I don't even know what we just watched. I think we just witnessed, Chris, is letdown the right word for what just happened?
It's bad because I've been drinking out of a flask tonight while we've been doing shows. I was going to bring this. You were over at Doug's, who lives less than a mile from me. And you were like, hey, watching the game at Doug's. I'm like, cool, halftime, I'll be over. I'll ride my bicycle over. You know, kind of like Will Ferrell. I rode my bike over to a cemetery. Dude died of a hang gliding accident. And then you were like, I'm leaving at halftime. I'm like, well, now I'm not going. I'll just stay here with my wife.
I texted Chris. I was like, don't come. Don't come because I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. I can't be around people for this. Guys, I don't even know what we just watched.
Jared was happy he was drunk enough to not really remember the game.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and I saw Whittle from over guy who follows us on Twitter talking about how, I can't wait to go back and rewatch this game. I was like, why? Why would you do that to yourself? Like, I understand some people they're into the gimp mask thing. You know, they like a little, they like to be handcuffed. They like to be humiliated. You know, financial dominance is apparently a thing where you give some lady all the money out of your bank account and then she makes fun of you and tells you you're poor. Like, people can be masochists in any way they want to. Going back and rewatching that game is something I think even the most robust fetish club would have a hard time finding a buyer for. Guys, that happened. You know, it's Super Mexican in the comments. Oh no, that game was real. I thought I was drunk nightmaring. Yeah, it felt that way. It definitely felt that way. The Buffalo Bills drop one on the road to Atlanta in a game that was completely winnable for almost any other iteration of the Buffalo Bills throughout the course of, 2020 to now?
Yeah.
Any other iteration of the Buffalo Bills wins that football game. We're in a special type of hell, folks. And tonight we're here to commiserate about it. Since our wives don't care, don't want to hear it, our children are too young to understand, and ultimately, Chris, I have to dump these thoughts somewhere. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are joining live on YouTube, normally I start with stats of the game, and I pour over things, and I'm just not going to. There's some statistics that come out of this one that are damning, right? Like when you see that in one game, Drake London outperformed your wide receiver group.
As a whole
over the last 3 weeks, there's some really ugly statistics, right? And we can get into those, and I'm sure everyone has, and everyone's been on Twitter. So this is what we do as Bills fans. We gravitate towards social media, and we find the things that make us angry. That's half the reason that social media is the worst. You know what's funny? I tweeted something out last night about the Buffalo Bills making football like a sort of like for those of you who know Greek mythology, Sisyphus. And I was like, I don't know why they're making football look as hard as they do. And Chris, do you know that out of all the dumb shit that I tweet, that one has 371 likes? It's got almost 30,000 views. It's one of the few things I tweet that for some reason people latch onto. It's proof that people go to social media because they're angry. And they're looking for a couple things. They're either looking for the thing that continues to make them angry and fuel their rage, or they're looking for people who, like, I'm angry and this guy's angry about the same thing I'm angry, which means we must be friends. Which is crazy because I'm nuts. You guys can't. So you walk away from this game and you see things, right? Like, here's what my takeaway. I went home last night. I started working on podcast prep. And in the driving rain, the Chicago Bears scored 22 points before the 2-minute mark of the fourth quarter on Monday Night Football. Chris, we are now officially underperforming the Caleb Williams-led Bears.
Jake Moody winning that game made me turn $10 into $440. So I'm all for the Bears winning that game. Came down to the wire because there was 10 people for the money, and I was the only one that picked the Bears to win that game because I'm smart and I know my football.
Football, yes. Smart, questionable. Of all the hot takes that you'd probably like to hear, you know, when you tune into a podcast, you're looking for some fire, some brimstone, you're looking for people to get fired up. Knowing that you're underperforming the Bears is insulting. You mean to tell me that the Buffalo Bills offense playing inside of what is essentially a dome couldn't get into field goal range once? Once on any of its offensive possessions. Never mind all of the detritus that people have already thrown around. Never mind all the negative separation statistics. You know, the fact that Tyrell Shavers is the closest guy on our roster to the league average in separation, which is awful. Never mind all of that. Let's talk about how a Buffalo Bills offense couldn't kick field goals in this game. That more than most things underscores for me just how broken this thing is. And when you try to find a reason why, it's like, well, wait, what? Because they played man defense and blitzed? Oh, you're going to run into plenty of football teams that can do that. You know, I think I snarkily tweeted out last night, I remember a time when I was being told by a member of the Bills coaching staff that this thing that we watched couldn't happen again. Oh, you know, the Patriots were the best cornerback group you're going to see all year, and obviously nobody's going to be able to replicate what they did there. And then it happened. It not only happened, but it was so bad and it was so predictable that D. Alford, the cornerback from the Falcons, flat out said after the game that the Buffalo Bills did exactly what they saw on tape. The interception that he caught at the end of the game, D. Alford said, it's the same pick he threw last week. I just went to the same place in the field and the ball found me. If you want to get mad about things, these should be the things. Like, there's so much here. So in the run up to the game, I'm driving to my friend's house and I hear that Dalton Kincaid's going to be inactive. And I go, okay, so now you're watering down my secret sauce. You're going to water down what has been the catalyst for the Bills offense, your tight end room. I wonder what that's going to do to the play calling. Chris, what if I told you that there were only 2 targets to the entire tight end room the entire game, and one of them was a 19-yard touchdown pass?
That's surprising.
Dawson Knox was only targeted twice. Jackson Hawes was taken off the field entirely for giant stretches of the game. Even though, by and large, your tight ends have been the engine that have been fueling your offense. Do you know how far down the chart in terms of offensive snap percentage Jackson Hawes was?
Was he not out there enough?
What do you mean, was he not out there enough?
I was reading the comments while you were talking, so I wasn't listening. My natural state is to not listen to you.
Jackson Hawes played 54% of the snaps in last night's game. Half. In a game where you only had 2 tight ends dressed, and you know that the tight end room has, by and large, powered your offense.
What was Cook at?
James Cook was at 53. So Jackson Hawes saw more of the field than James Cook.
Sounds like Joe Brady needs to be tarred and feathered.
I need a sip of whiskey for that one. Guys, this game is so hard to parse. It's frustrating and it's aggravating. It's maddening because now we know the gory statistics. We know all the ugly things. Chris, I sent you a boatload of tweets about all the negative statistical things that went on in this game. And now that we're here and we're doing this live, I almost don't feel like I have to talk about them because Bills fans have been all just looking at my own tweets. How many of you lunatics are liking my tweets? That's a problem. I'm supposed to be the crazy person that nobody listens to. And the fact that these things are gaining traction shows you how upset everybody is, how unhinged this fan base is coming. When you look at the wide receivers we invested in last night, perfect example from Kevin Syracuse. Keon Coleman, 6 targets, 3 catches for 11 yards. Useless. He put more effort into picking out his wardrobe for this game than he did anything he did on the field. Joshua Palmer, 2 catches for 60 yards. It finally worked, and then he got injured. Curtis Samuel, inactive. Again, you're paying him millions of dollars. Elijah Moore, 2 targets, no catch. Well, it should have been a catch. We all know that. The idea is you've spent capital at a position that is giving you 0 in the way of dividends. You guys in the chat, how did you feel during the game? Skid Valve says everybody starves. Earlier today, I tweeted out a picture of a guy with a piece of brisket that was like, it's like 1.5 pounds of brisket in a package. And I was like, Joe Brady says everybody eats and here's the meal. This is it. Guys, how did you get through this? I want to hear in the chat, those of you watching live, how did you get through it?
I always, through most of the game, I was like, all right, we're not playing well, but like the Falcons didn't do anything to step on our necks. Like to me, 2 possession game with Josh Allen as your quarterback, it's not that far off. I would have expected Buffalo to come back from that, but they just couldn't do anything offensively. And when they did, they were just being cute as shit.
It's funny you say that. See, you sit here and you try to assign blame, right? Every Bills fan wants to know, who can I be angry at? Who can I be angry at? Who's the guy that I can stick my finger in his face and go, this is your fault. You're the reason that this isn't working. And the reality for the 2025 Buffalo Bills is that it's a little more difficult than that. And there's something I like to call, I don't know, I'm sure there's a more technical term for it, and I'm just being a rube, but there's something I like to call in business the ladder theory. And it's the idea that if you can't really assign blame because so many things are going wrong at one time at a given level of the organization, you have to go up to the next rung of the ladder with your criticisms. So, well, it's easy to sit here, and I mean, I did complain. You know, I talked about how AJ Epinesa might be like this. He's the second. It's him and James Cook. You know, James Cook, 2nd round pick. It's paying dividends. AJ Epinesa, though, might be the best 2nd round defensive draft pick we've ever had. And when you look at Brandon Beane's track record in the 2nd round, it's not good. You know, the Boogie Basham one almost takes away the James Cook one, and now you're left with Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, and AJ Epinesa on the field for you. And of those players, the only one who looks like he has a pulse is AJ Epinesa, which is pathetic. I don't know what to do with this. And it's easy to point at the players. You know, I did last night. I called Cole Bishop soft. I said, look, the idea that you try to wrap tackle instead of just shoving a guy out of bounds with a violent tackle to the body when he's on the boundary tells me that you're trying to you're out here playing patty cake in what is a very violent sport. I can't have that from Cole Bishop. I can't. And you noticed that as soon as Jordan Poyer got inserted into the lineup, the defense stabilized, which is it's not an applause for Jordan Poyer. It's a damning indictment of the current state of our safety room. You look at Keon Coleman, just lost. There's a play where they throw him the ball, and if he works back to the ball with any sort of effort, he draws a flag. He's just not trying. That lack of effort is what kills me when I think about this. And I look at the players and I go, okay, so our offensive line is not doing well because they're blitzing. They're sending extra players, which is allegedly the reason James Cook had so few snaps. Okay, whatever. But what's interesting is when you think about, like, you want to blame the running backs that we didn't have more success. You want to blame the line that the running game didn't work. Okay, that's a really good rushing defense. You want to blame the individual wide receiver talent so they didn't get separation. But then you think back to what last year's team was, and you go, wait, if all of this stuff is broken, can I really blame them? Like, if every single thing is failing here within the structure of the thing I'm trying to watch, can I blame the parts of this machine? Or do I have to take it up a rung and climb the ladder and go, okay, person who's supposed to be overseeing these pieces, what are you doing? And that's where this conversation gets tricky because, unfortunately, with the 2025 Buffalo Bills, if you apply ladder theory to this, you end up in some really uncomfortable places. For example, Chris, all the people mad about the state of the wide receiver core, the passing game, the separation. Anthony Prohaska over at Cover One with the tweet. The Buffalo Bills, when targeting running backs, in 2024, they were plus 0.6 EPA per target, which was first in the NFL. Passing to our running backs, our success rate was third in the NFL. We were one of the best offenses at running our offense through the running back stable. And you saw flashes of it last night. We come out of the half going, okay, you're gonna beat up our wide receivers on the outside with physical man coverage. Fine. We're gonna hit you with Ray Davis passes. And it worked. And then they immediately took the ball out of his hands. There is something that Joe Brady feels very comfortable about. Remember how much we celebrated him for running the offense through the running back room when he got here? We were like, finally, we have a coordinator who understands that the running backs are talented and we need to use them. Well, now he's doing it, and it's not working. And he's gotten away from doing it in ways that were successful. And that's a problem, right? So here's ladder theory. I've decided I'm no longer mad at the individual players. I want to go up a level, and I want to say, okay, coordinators, let's start on the offense. Joe Brady, what the hell are you doing out here? Why is it that in back-to-back weeks you have embarrassing failures on jet sweeps? And that he himself has to come out and acknowledge for a second straight week that a jet sweep was a bad idea. They're all bad ideas. If a jet sweep was something that you really, truly felt you needed in your offense, why didn't the Bills draft Xavier Worthy? Why did you feel like it was okay to trade back? Because I don't need a Xavier Worthy. I can go get a Keon Coleman. And then you're out here running jet sweeps with Dawson Knox. If you needed that to be a part of your offense, then you as a coordinator and as a coaching staff needed to put up more of a fight that Worthy was a player you needed to make the jet sweep a part of your arsenal. Otherwise, you need to pack that shit up and take it home. It's frustrating when you see these failures at this level. I think that more than anything. I also think it's interesting, Chris. This is the second week in a row now where we've had to hear in the post-game press conference. It's never beforehand. It's never in the week leading up to the game. It's always afterwards when you're trying to pick through the carnage that McDermott and the coordinator have talked about, or that I've already addressed, or we're going to talk about that. McDermott, this quote from Jonathan Acosta. McDermott, quote, says the Elijah Moore end-around play is something he's already discussed with Joe Brady. Okay, that's fine. Sean McDermott on why James Cook was taken off the field for Ty Johnson on third down in the second half. This comes from Alex Brasky. It's a good point. I don't know. Okay, so there's another piece of mismanagement. And then you go down the ladder and you start looking at some of these decisions that are being made. And it's just constantly your coach going, oh, yeah, no, I addressed that with him, or we talked about it, or he knows that's bad. Why are we still doing things that are bad? or at least chastisably bad at the offensive coordinator position in week 6 of an NFL season? Chris, do you have an answer for that?
No, I don't.
Jared in the comments goes, that's why it's called postgame. Yeah, but the question is, why are you doing this way? Like, why, if you really addressed it, if you really talked about it, why are we still here having this conversation 2 weeks in a row where you're having to chastise your coordinator for things? That feels like a failure. It's incredibly frustrating. The fact that Ty Johnson, okay, here's a good one. Ty Johnson played 42% of your snaps, mostly because they trust him the most out of all their running backs in pass protection. Okay, that's fine. So, Chris, if that means Ty Johnson's out there on passing downs, you would assume that they probably tried to work him into the passing attack, given that we've watched him score improbable touchdowns against the Broncos, that we've watched him make just like game-saving plays against the Detroit Lions. How many targets do you think he had last night?
Who is this?
Ty Johnson, considering he was on the field for almost half the plays.
None.
He had 2 and he had 1 catch for 11 yards.
Oh, I didn't know that they counted flippy-do pass as an actual pass.
They counted that as a target.
Can we get to Skid Valve $2? Brady immediately throws out any plays that work.
And when you hear someone say that, I want to hear it. So everyone else in the chat right now, everyone who's listening at home.
Give us $2?
No, Skid Valve just made a comment that Brady immediately throws out any plays that work. And while that seems like you're just trying to be snarky, you're trying to be the WGR Weinerline guy, I'd like to point out that Dawson Knox in the red zone was wide open. He beat his man. He got up the seam. He got open in the red zone. Josh threads the needle. Great touchdown catch. He targeted him one more time throughout the entire game, and it should have been a catch if not for the fact that the defensive back just waved his hands in the air and his pinky finger knocked the ball away. If it wasn't for that, Dawson Knox is 2 for 2, probably has 20 yards. 25, 26 yards receiving and a touchdown. Where did your tight end? It's almost like the second that Dalton Kincaid got hurt, he threw the tight ends out of the equation and said, I'm smarter than this. I can come up with a whole new game plan. Never mind the fact that the tight ends have been your game plan. They have been the thing that has saved your offense week after week after week after week. And then what's even more damning is you saw the play that Jackson Hawes made as a receiver to get you into scoring position against the Ravens. You don't even give him an opportunity. You don't even give him an opportunity to go out as a receiver. His routes run, Chris, less than 2. It's pathetic. That's a failure on all accounts. That's a guy who doesn't have a plan. He goes, oh no, we'll just make the plan as we go. Do you know how many times that works in the NFL?
Very little.
Very little. Just ask Mike McDaniel.
Ralph Wilson senior in the comments, Ty Johnson was too busy picking up blitzes.
That's right. And so here's the thing. Where the controversial play where Josh Allen gets sacked, it's a mesh concept. You've got an offensive coordinator who's calling long developing passing plays that require the mesh point. And neither receiver is looking at the quarterback because they're trying to run the route. And they have no idea that Josh is about to get snowed under. Why are you calling that play in that scenario or not at least, like if you're Josh, you got to audible out of that. But how many of these terrible plays and these terrible play concepts can you audible out of before you have to start questioning who's calling this? Who's designed this?
Yeah.
But it's not like it was any better on the other side of the ball. Right? Like there were problems there too from a coordination standpoint. You once again have your linebackers trying to play a deeper zone than I think they played last year. Like watching it visually, you can see it happening and they're not comfortable there. And the end result is that now your safeties think they can play a little bit farther down the field. Cole Bishop ends up leaving this massive window and you've got Terrell Bernard on Drake London. Who's going to win that? A 6-foot-something, 235-pound linebacker or 6'4", 225 Drake London?
Drake London.
He took us to the woodshed last night. They didn't need anything else. They didn't need, I mean, they needed Bijan Robinson. It was Bijan Robinson and it was Drake London, and everybody else on the roster just got cardio for 60 minutes.
How did Davis Sills the fifth do?
I don't even think he ran a route.
Asking for a friend.
Hubris is what killed the Bills, according to Super Mexican, and I think he's spot on. So then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and you want to talk about the lack of coverage and the things that are happening. Like, what are your safeties doing? Again, why is Cole Bishop not coached to shove a guy out of bounds rather than try to tackle him around the waist while he's sliding?
That was my first thought. Why? I saw the play happen in real time, and I go, why do you try to wrap tackle there? I think he already had taken a bad angle on that play, and then he gets to Bijan, and it's like, oh, this Earl Campbell 2.0, I'm going to wrap tackle him.
Yep.
Shove him out of bounds.
Just shove him out of bounds. You're right there. The problem is the safety position calls for a requisite amount of violence. And I don't think Cole Bishop has that. Now, I don't know, because he wasn't like this in college, so I don't know if it's the injuries that made him gun shy, but something happened here to our friend Cole Bishop, and he's fighting everything about the NFL game right now. And that's a problem for a Bills team that thinks it wants to have a shot and wants to live and die by a zone defense. Is built to live and die by this, hey, we're going to make you go 5, 6, 7, 8 plays down the field and hope you make a mistake. You can't give up giant plays because your safeties don't know where to be, and when physicality is required, they can't supply it.
Skid Valve for $5, which we can't access until we get 96 more subscribers. Crazy, we had Poyer, Williams, and Lewis playing live snaps, and the offense was the worst unit.
Yes. Cam Lewis actually looked good. You know, this is all just, it's all embarrassing and it's bad. Jamie in the comments, no one is eating. No one's eating on this offense, but also on this defense, nobody's eating. I was angry at my supervisor at work. Yes. This is why I'm happy I work remote on days like this, because I don't need to be around people. I would have been hostile as shit in the office. I would have been hard to be around. Just ask how my wife felt. So I look at this, Chris, and I look at the coordinators. Now, do you have the hero and zero things queued up?
The Sounders, I can get them.
Yeah, get them fired up because we're getting there. See, here's the problem, though. If your coordinators are both failing on both sides of the ball, and you go, okay, your job is to take the talent you've been handed, organize it within the structure you've been given by your head coach, and both of you suck at this. Both of you are blowing it in real time. Can I blame you? Or do I have to, ladder theory, go up a rung? So now I have to look at the head coach, and I go, if neither one of your coordinators are doing a good job, now I'm forced to look at you. Sean McDermott, why do you run a football team where you constantly have to be chastising your offensive coordinator about what to and what not to do? You're not an offensive coordinator. What makes Sean McDermott qualified to read Joe Brady the riot act about anything? What makes Sean McDermott qualified to speak on this? I don't know. I find it fascinating. I think it's hilarious that he inserts himself into those conversations. And he's publicly saying he does so. Oh no, he and I talked about that. About what? What do you know about running back usage, old man? With those ridiculous glasses. Oh, Chris, I don't know what made me angrier. The performance of the Bills, the fact that we scored on our first drive and then had 45 total yards in the first half afterwards, and that we finished the game with two drives that had 0 yards. Or Sean McDermott's ridiculous glasses. I want to fight him. I want to fight him off his face. It's absurd. when I look at you saying every week now, 2 weeks in a row, when you lose, you're the one talking to your coordinator about what he should and shouldn't be doing, I have to question what the hell makes you qualified to have that conversation, Sean? And also, why do you feel qualified doing it? And then I pivot to the other side of the ball because this one's even more damning. Sean McDermott today said it has never crossed his mind to take play calling duties away from Bobby Babich. And I find that rich considering that in 2018 in our home opener against the then San Diego Chargers, Sean McDermott took the clipboard and the headset away from Leslie Frazier and called his own defensive plays because he thought it was going so poorly. And yet now in the face of what is historically bad defense, we are one of the worst executing defenses in the NFL and in the NFL for the last 5-6 years. Sean McDermott says, nope, I'm fine. I have no intention of rocking the boat for my defensive coordinator. So let me get this straight, Chris. Sean McDermott feels comfortable meddling in the thing that he doesn't know anything about professionally, but then the side of the ball that actually speaks to his acumen, that speaks to why he got the head coaching position that he earned in the first place. Oh no, I don't want to step on that guy's toes. There's something wrong there, isn't there?
Yeah. There's a lot wrong.
But even then, can I be mad at Sean McDermott? Because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Sean McDermott is just trying to coach the guys who are coaching the guys who make the plays. And it's not going well. So it's trickling up. And then you look at this, Chris, cowardice. On the surrender index, for those of you who follow on Twitter, Chris, can you throw that up there for the people? I want you guys to see this. The surrender index indicates how cowardly your football team is acting on a given play. Buffalo decided to punt to Atlanta from the Buffalo 49 on 4th and 3 with 8:20 remaining in the second while losing 7-21. With a surrender index of 5.66, this punt ranks in the 90th percentile of cowardly punts of the 2025 season and in the 86th percentile of all punts since 1999. This is gutless football. This is gutless, uncoordinated.
Doug Marrone football.
Even Doug Marrone had some chutzpah. At least he had the balls to fight with Jerry Hughes. Instead, we've got Sean McDermott out here wearing grandmama sunglasses, and I can't. I can't.
He looked like he worked at an art museum. He gave tours and really cared about the art.
It's ugly. It's ugly business. And so I want to sit here and I want to bark up Sean McDermott's tree, and I'm on that. I've been banging that drum for a while now, the Sean McDermott drum. But again, in business, if you go, well, wait a minute. So everything this guy is doing seems like it's backwards. Well, I can't just sit here and blame him because there's got to be somebody else in this hierarchy who's allowing this thing to happen. And it's this inevitable trickle-down effect where now I have to climb the ladder another rung and I have to look at Brandon Beane and I have to go, okay, Brandon Beane, what did you do to this roster? You went on to WGR 550 and fought with our radio hosts in a moment that admittedly I thought was cool. In a moment where you got in our radio host's ass about his quote-unquote bitching and complaining about the state of the wide receiver core and, oh, you guys complain and blah, 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 but here's this and here's that, and we win games and we score points. Do you? Because it's not working now. I had this, I was brushing my teeth last night. I had this thought and it made me laugh really hard. That Brandon Beane rant is the equivalent to the movie Step Brothers when they show up to the sporting goods store interview wearing tuxedos. And Seth Rogen's having a really good time with it. He's like, I think this was cool. And it's goofy and it's funny and it's cool and everybody digs it. And then this wide receiver room's performance through 6 weeks became the equivalent of the fart that Seth Rogen could taste. That, what's that actor with the curly hair, Chris, from Step Brothers?
John C. Reilly?
John C. Reilly. He goes, is that ketchup? Yeah, ketchup and onion. Yeah, I can taste that. And he goes, now the tuxedos just seem weird. Yeah, that's what's happened with this wide receiver room. You talked a lot of smack in the offseason about, the offense was great, everything was great, and you guys bitching and complaining on the radio. And then that wide receiver room hung you out to dry, Brandon Beane. And they've produced nothing of consequence. And now it all just seems kind of dumb. Now that rant of yours and the way you attack the radio station makes you seem kind of, I don't know, kind of lost. Sophie St. George in the comments. McDermott, we're smaller but faster. We're stronger, smarter, and we hit harder. And the players go, we're injured, coach. Shocker. We're injured. Super Mexican says, I can smell ketchup and onion in this Bills loss. Yeah, you can taste it. It's right there on the tip of your tongue. That rant no longer seems like it was a cool moment, does it, Chris?
No.
I actually tweeted at Jeremy White and Nate Geary last night. I was like, you cowards won't bring Brandon Beane on to have him talk about this, will you? And I included the GIF from the other guys where Will Ferrell's down there with the microphone going, hey, there's murmurings down here that they don't think you have the ball. When he's trying to talk that guy to jump off the building. So again, we're talking about ladder theory. I now have to keep climbing the ladder to figure out who should I be angry at? Who can I blame? Because I want to be mad. I want to be mad at Josh Allen for having a bad game. I want to be mad at the receivers for dropping. I want to be mad at all of these things, but I'm not sure where it rightfully belongs. And so I keep doing the thing I do where I climb the ladder and I say, okay, if I can't blame the coach because the GM built this roster that's just giving us like disgusting fits on offense. Okay, that's fair. But also, why does the GM feel so cocksure that he can go out there and just like puff his chest out and be braggadocious in public about something that is now falling on its face, and yet there's no capitulance, there's no apology, there's no, hey, we're going to go out here and we're going to make this better, we're going to try to reimagine things. You have to go up a rung from even the GM, and now you end up with ownership. And this is where I think a lot of problems lie. And if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan, you start to realize like, oh no, this all does flow from the same place. You see, guys, I hate to say this, but Terry Pegula is basically Mike Brown 2.0. And when I say that, I'm not trying to be insulting in terms of the outcomes, like the way that their seasons have gone. I mean that in the sense that he's an owner who owns a football team and it's basically his entire net worth. All of his income is derived from it. He's tried to start. We did an exercise this offseason where we showed that Terry Pegula has tried to create other businesses. You know, that whole shtick about him at the podium going, well, if money's ever a problem, I'll just drill another oil well. He's tried that, and it's failed. His other businesses besides the Buffalo Bills don't generate enough to cover a single season of Josh Allen's contract. So now I'm looking at ownership going, where is the pressure to improve? Like I had a tweet last night where it was basically the Joker snapping the pool cue and throwing the broken piece on the ground so that the three guys could fight to the death over it. And I said, if this coaching staff had any balls, this is what Sean McDermott would do to his coordinators tomorrow. Go, listen, one of you is getting fired. Special teams, whether it's the special teams coordinator, whether it's the defensive coordinator, whether it's the offensive coordinator, one of you is getting fired. Here's the pool cue. Somebody make it theirs. Who's got to die here today? But that would take pressure to force the coach to force those people to do things. And when you get to the top of the ladder, what you find is you have an owner who is completely disconnected from his franchises. He's got so much money tied up in this thing. And realistically, Chris, when do you ever hear Terry Pegula talk about the Buffalo Bills publicly?
Never. You know who has an issue with Terry Pegula not talking to the media is friend of a friend, Pat Moran's A1 buddy, Joe from Queens. Oh, he's always mad that Pegula never talks to the media.
Well, because when you put him on the microphone, he sounds like a Pennsylvania hayseed.
He can't do interviews. Like you would have to pre-record an interview with Terry Pegula and edit the fuck out of it to make him sound good.
It's brutal. And then the problem becomes Sean McDermott has a contract that keeps him here for a while. So does Brandon Beane. And they effectively boxed Terry Pegula out of the operation early. And that was a good thing because at the time, Pegula Sports Entertainment was a shit show. And the hockey team was in shambles. And they were like, look, keep your stuff on your side. You contractually can't get involved in a lot of what we're doing over here. But at the end of the day, if people are buying tickets and they're selling out the stadium, Terry Pegula doesn't care. I think that's what we're learning is that Terry Pegula does not care as long as the money continues to flow. Because ultimately, that's what funds him and his family and their lifestyle. Now, last night I got drunk and said some wild things.
Simonelli.
When I say wild things, guys, I've said things on this podcast that have been offensive. I've said things that have been controversial. I've said things that have been hurtful. Last night, to a select group of people who are probably all listening to this podcast and still just like when they hear me bring it up, their mouths kind of open again and they go, Jesus. I rattled off some real things about Terry Pegula. And I'm not going to apologize. I refuse to because I don't think I'm wrong. But it's bad. And we now live in a world where Terrence Pegula has to be like, you look at the franchises that are the best. The Chiefs. The Hunt family pushes incredibly hard. They let the Chiefs spend to the cap every single year and they give them flexibility and they let them pay like Steve Spagnuolo the most money of any coordinator in the NFL. They let the Chiefs and they push the Chiefs and they challenge the Chiefs to be great because it makes them lucrative and it makes them fun and they have an ego tied up in this. I don't think our ownership group is the same. And that's hard to swallow, isn't it? Like for those of you in the chat, if I said Terry Pegula is actually kind of to blame for this entire thing, would you be mad at me? How many people here would be mad if I just said Terry Pegula is the source of all of our problems, as it is with the Sabres, where he's just put people in charge and he accepts whatever it is that they do simply because he doesn't want to have to do anything else. If it's making money, let the money roll in. Let it go. Here's
one thing why I don't think that they would fire Bean or McDermott, and it coincides with a lot of what they've done with the Sabres, is how many times has Terry Pegula had to pay multiple Sabre coaches because he fired like Bilesma, Housley, and then you get new ones, so you're paying two coaches. I feel like he wouldn't do that with the Bills. He'll let McDermott's contract ride out. I'm not going to fire McDermott, pay McDermott, and a new coach.
So, I don't know. I don't know who deserves the zero of the week this week, but all I know is I climbed the ladder, and I find blame at every single level. This isn't just a, hey, replace player X, replace player Y. This position group is weak. Augment it with an added body. This is a systemic organizational problem. And so if I climb to the top of the ladder, who's the guy at the top calling the shots, not putting any pressure on anybody under him to achieve better than what they've already done? Chris, our zero of the week is Terry Pegula.
You folks fell on your face. You get an F- in my book.
The good news is there's time. There's time to come back from this. There's time. I donate just to spite y'all at this point. Real talk. Do you think they can manage to turn this around, or are we truly cooked? Skid Valve, I can't wait to get to your question. But I think first we have to do something. As a group, we all need a little bit of Schadenfreude. We all need to exhale a little bit. And so with that, Chris, please tell me you have the sounder.
I'm going to it now.
When the Bills lose, it upsets everybody. And I think one of the things, because we're bad people, and I know you're bad people because you're here with us, It's when you get together and you talk about all the people who have it worse than us on a given week. And so this is volume 2 for the 2025 season of people who have it worse than Bill's Mafia.
Fuck you both. Your lives are so fucking pathetic. I ran a charity 15K to raise awareness for it, you fucking losers.
I don't know why, but it's one of my favorite Shorzy chirps of all time. Guys, Chris, please tell me you have the Stephen Ross photo queued up there.
Yeah, I can pull that up. You better bring the heat from last week, because last week you sucked at this segment.
You thought I was soft.
Yeah, you were very soft in this segment.
How about this? Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross has it worse than Bill's Mafia. Do you want to know why? This guy is going to die. He's going to die before his team can ever win a Super Bowl. And I say that because he's the guy who took to the podium and said, I've owned this team for too long not to have any playoff victories, and I deserve a Super Bowl before I die. You're not going to get one. The same way so many Bills fans have not. So will you, Stephen Ross, you idiot. And who deserves it better? Chris, nothing could have been better than this weekend. Is it up there? Can the people see it?
Well, you got to allude to it first.
The Dolphins looked like they were going to win the game this weekend against the Chargers, so much so that Stephen Ross went down to the field to celebrate. He wanted his shining moment on TV, like this was going to be a statement game. We're back. All of our problems are solved. And then the Dolphins choked it away. And Stephen Ross is just sitting there. He got captured on camera with his stupid hand on his forehead in shock. Just, oh my God, my idiot team. I walked all the way down here at 80 years old for this. Yes. And nobody deserves it more than him, because he ruined what would have been a $275 payday for me, because I parlayed that the Dolphins would lose week 1 and that Mike McDaniel would be the first head coach fired. And they didn't pull the trigger after this. Your coach embarrasses you. You lose in one of the most embarrassing fashions you can imagine as the owner of an NFL team. And do you know what happens, Chris?
Titans fire Brian Callahan.
Titans beat you to the punch and fire Brian Callahan. It's absurd. It's patently absurd that somehow you, as Stephen Ross, have allowed Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel to suck away this many years of your life, of your ownership, of your legacy. And here's what's crazy, Chris. They're tied to Tua Tagovailoa for at least another season or two. Do you know that he's 6-17 against teams with a record over 500?
It checks out.
It's the worst winning percentage in that criteria in NFL history. He sucks. Everybody sucks. Stephen Ross, everything going on in Miami is the pits. They are a one-win football team only because they were allowed to play the Jets.
Oh, we Skid Valve in the comments for $2. Ravens are 1-5. We ain't rock bottom yet, baby. We Skid Valve. You've probably given us enough for a Five Guys cheeseburger at this point tonight. We really appreciate it.
I'm telling you, I'm going to talk about the Ravens here in a second. Oh, they're not getting away from this. Oh, this is pettiness. This is what we do. This is the Pettiest Bills podcast. Of course I'm going to throw shade. You want to talk about other people who are having a worse week than Bills fans while we're sitting here wallowing in self-pity. Okay? How about Bill Callahan? Bill Callahan. See, it's funny. Bill Callahan is widely regarded in like the Dante Scarnecchia area of great NFL offensive line coaches of all time. And you know, Chris, that he opened a lot of the doors that allowed his son to become an offensive, you're a quality control assistant. He opened the door to the NFL for his son, which allowed his son to get his first head coaching job in Tennessee. And then Bill Callahan went to Tennessee to go work for his son. Like, hey guys, we're going to build this shed together. This is going to be great. So it's hilarious that when his son gets fired, today Bill Callahan announces that he's resigning his position as offensive line coach in solidarity with his child. Chris, What's the protocol on this? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I love my boys. But if I have a lucrative gig coaching a football team, do I have to quit just because they disrespectfully fired him?
Let's go with this. So, both Callahan's not coaching the rest of the year. So when end of January, February come, who's getting a job first, Bill or Brian? The answer is Bill Callahan.
All I can think of is Bo Callahan from draft day. It's astounding to me that this guy made the move. Like, good for him. He has character. But holy shit, what a rough day, Chris. They go, hey, we fired your son, by the way. Do you want to stick around? He goes, nah, I'm going to go down with the ship. I'm going to go hang out with my kid. We're going to play croquet in the backyard and talk about it. Chris, I'm not going to lie to you. I would be like, you know what I would do? I would walk out to the parking lot with him, and I'd be like, son, the NFL's like this sometimes. And he goes, oh, thanks, Dad. You want to get in the car? You want to ride home? Nah, see, I got to go back to work. I still have a job. Unlike you, I'm not unemployed. All right. Let's keep it rolling. People who I can still punch down on. How about the Indianapolis Colts? The Buffalo Bills did have a pregame warm-up injury where the elderly defensive tackle Daquan Jones popped his calf. But that doesn't hold a candle to the... I mean, here we are as the Bills fans complaining about injuries. What the fuck were the Colts doing before kickoff? Chris, did you see what happened to Charvarius Ward, their best cornerback?
I think I saw that all 22 footage. He was like running a route in pregame and then ran into somebody.
Ran into a tight end who's just jogging across the field and immediately knocked himself unconscious, like straight out unconscious. They said his eyes rolled back in his head. So you lose your best quarterback in warmups. You know what happened about 20 minutes before that? They were stretching, and a resistance band snapped and fractured Anthony Richardson's orbital. What are you doing over there? Like, we think we're snake bit with injuries. What the hell happened to the Colts? How do you break an eye socket with a resistance band? Also, why are you staring down the barrel of it? Why is it hitting you in the face? I have so many questions. The Colts, right now, they have it worse than most of Bill's Mafia. If I can get serious for a moment, former Jets center Nick Mangold, he has it worse. I want to talk about this. He actually, I don't want to bring the show down, but Nick Mangold announced that he is suffering from renal failure. Do you know that Nick Mangold is only 41 years old? Chris, he's our age.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious considering how much more of an adult he looks like with the beard and the physicality and the bank account. He's much more of an adult than we are. Nick Mangold announced that in 2006, in the run-up to the draft, he found out that he had this degenerative kidney condition, and he thought he had longer, but he doesn't. And now he's suffering from full-scale renal failure and needs a kidney donation. And so he's reached out to Jets fans, being like, hey, if anybody in the New York Jets fan community is type O, can you please consider donating a kidney to me so I can not be on dialysis and maybe just die in my sleep one day? You want to talk about people who have it worse? Doesn't that put things into perspective? You're like, oh shit, that guy used to play this game. I remember rooting against and also just being impressed by Nick Mangold. And then he comes out at my age and goes, nah, I'm kind of dying. My organs are failing. Meanwhile, I'm over here punishing my kidneys and liver, and they just, my triglycerides are perfect. My cholesterol couldn't be better. Everything for me is gravy every single time I go in to get my scans. It's almost not fair. It's almost not fair that a guy like that can suffer while I sit here and do this. So for anybody who's interested or anybody who might be able to help, it's columbiasurgery.org/kidney transplant. You can look him up by Nicholas Mangold. If you're type O and you want to try to help save the life of a former NFL legend, that we got to see growing up, who's a part of all of our childhood, whether we liked it or not. You can go do that. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Are you done?
Not yet.
Because there's two that you haven't hit on yet.
You go.
All right. Well, first of all,
Bring the heat, son.
First of all, me. I have it worse than the Bills.
Well, it's always you. I mean, look at that hair.
Well, it's not the hair. Hair's on point.
The hair, the face, the whole nine.
It is. The way that Drew loves the Bills, I am for the Sabres. I'm gonna have to cancel. Like usually, it's like December. I'll cancel my Gotham Sports account because I don't have cable. That's how I watch the games, is on Gotham Sports. I'm gonna have to cancel it now and just watch the next month of games because they look like I knew that they were gonna be shit, and they are absolutely worse than shit. Like, I watched the home opener against the Rangers. No, thank you. I made it through a period of the next game. We already lost Josh Norris to injury. He's played 4 games since we traded for him. Bullshit. And then do you want me to go with the other one that you missed, or do you want to go?
Hey, you go.
Because, I mean...
No, because I've got one to close this out.
I don't know if you can beat me. You kind of touched on it, but you might have to help me with the numbers.
Okay.
Because I know somebody got a phone call this week, and they went like this. They went, hello? And they're like, Terry, Pat Kraft, how are you? I'm good. What do you need? How's the new stadium coming along? It's good. It's good. You has the budget gotten worse for it? What's the overage now? Do you know offhand?
Oh,
for the stadium?
I know for a fact that they've run at least $700 million over budget.
Yeah, Pat, I'm just $700 million over budget. Yeah, why? What's up? What do you need?
Oh no! Wait a minute. It's $400 million over budget.
All right, it doesn't matter.
With a ceiling of 7.
I'll finish my point here. It's $500 million over budget. Wow, that sounds rough. Do you need something? Do you need something? What do you need me for? We fired James Franklin. We're gonna need some money for $49 million buyout. And God damn it! Yes, I'll send some money to the bank account of James Franklin because Penn State just fired their head coach.
Terry Pagula is writing a check right now to Penn State, going, "Oh, just throw that on the stadium tab. Let's see if we can roll it in with our losses." That is hysterical. The fact that they fired James Franklin, who, it's funny, Brett Coleman reached out to me the other week and goes, Brett Coleman from Bootleg Football reached out and just asked me an innocuous question. He goes, is Sean McDermott the James Franklin of the NFL? And I was like, oh my God. And then when they fired him this week, I was like, well, there's one down. I don't know about the other one. It's Jeremy Rogers. I can't listen to the show right now, but I hope Drew gets to punching down if he hasn't already. I'll tell you what. You know who sucks, Chris? You know who life sucks for? Dak Prescott. You want to know why? Do you know what Dak Prescott's statistics are? He's thrown 817 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 pick in the last 3 games. For a Bills offense that's mired in mediocrity, that's amazing production. You would assume they're blowing the doors off everybody, right?
Yeah.
Do you know that the Dallas defense has given up 90 points over those 3 games? 90 points and they're 0-3. They have no wins. It's a tie and 2 losses. What a chump. The dude is playing some of the best quarterback in football. This is a phenomenon where you're talking about a team that has scored the 2nd most points in the NFC. They have the 2nd most points scored in the NFC. Chris, you know where they rank record-wise?
3rd in the division.
13th in the conference. They're so far outside the playoff picture. This is the team that traded for Kyer Elam. Remember? They needed Kyer Elam, and the Bills were like, you want him? Oh, my God. Where do we sign? What do you need? Do we have to give you a player? Do you want a pick? Do you want a fruit basket? What can we do to sweeten the deal to get you to take Kyrie Elam? It's hilarious how bad the Cowboys are, and it couldn't happen to a better fan base, right? Mm-hmm. Better group of people, a better owner. Like, everything about it's just perfect. And then if I'm going to stay with that while I round this out, before I get to my monologue at the end, how about the basement of the AFC, guys? Do you know that the NFC, for what it is, the NFC, 75% of its teams have a 500 or better record. The AFC has 7 of its 16 teams with 2 wins or less. That's bad. That's, generally speaking, a bad conference. And if you're in the basement, like, imagine the Baltimore Ravens. You know, Skid Valve paid us to talk about the Baltimore Ravens and whether they're finished or not. I watched this team. You can talk about the Lamar Jackson injury, but that's not the reason the Ravens suck. The Ravens suck because their defense is awful. Their defense is just as bad as Buffalo. Do you remember in the offseason when they traded for Jair Alexander and everyone went, oh, that's really good for the Ravens. They're going to be so hard to beat in the secondary. Hasn't materialized. Do you want to know why? Because they got old at the wrong time. And then also, what's happening now is that they're getting chewed up in the trenches. Nothing was more hilarious than the concept that they tried to do the tush push. For anybody who thinks that we should ban this play from football, yeah, it's lame. But anyone who thinks it should be banned from football, the Ravens tried to run the tush push from inside the 2-yard line twice with Mark Andrews. Probably their most physically impressive offensive player. They failed. And then they tried to run it on 4th down with Derrick Henry, and their guard slips and falls. Their interior offensive line that, Chris, do you remember when Ken McCusick came on the show and downplayed how bad the interior line was?
Yeah.
And then Ed Oliver went on to have a career day against them. And then you watch what's happened to the Ravens since then. They literally, Skid Valve, every talking head had their roster number 1 overall. Everything that the Ravens touch has turned to shit. They are the reverse King Midas. Their secondary is atrocious. They just traded for a safety. Their cornerbacks, I think do they still have Marcus Peters? I don't know, because Marcus Peters used to be good, but he's terrible now. Marlon Humphrey, not good. Everything that they're doing defensively is awful. Roquan Smith looks old. Kyle Van Noy looks old, and he's getting injured. Their defensive line, this is a team that's down so bad, they've lost their best interior pass rusher, and they traded away their edge player who has 5 sacks, 10 sack seasons to his credit. They traded him away. And yet the team still has the balls to go, hey, we still see ourselves as a playoff contender. There are a lot of people out there who have it worse than Bills Mafia. So as I close the show out, I want to talk about where we go from here. And I'll close with this. I was pissed off about football and I couldn't watch anymore, couldn't think about it anymore, couldn't do any more show prep. And I did what I usually do is I just go for like a feel-good movie. Chris, what are your feel-good movies? What are movies you watch?
Coneheads.
And when you're done, you genuinely feel better about things?
Coneheads.
Is that it? Is that your favorite movie?
No.
What's your favorite movie?
Slapshot.
Okay. So you're an idiot.
Yes.
I love you. So I watched The Dark Knight Rises because I'm like, this is 3 hours. I'm definitely going to fall asleep during it, and it's going to be fine. Everything that happens here is like, I need to be able to just like parse this and stare at something stupid for a while and let the story play out, even though I've watched this movie a million times. And something hit me in the middle of that movie. There's a line when Bruce Wayne meets Bane for the first time. And he talks about how as he's trying to fight him, he goes, your peace has cost you strength. Victory has defeated you. And like a lightning bolt that resonated with me when it comes to this Bills team. Because the Bills had their moments. Over the last 5 years, the Buffalo Bills have had this just strength and victory and showmanship and pomp and circumstance. They would simply will victories into existence out of nothing because they were the Buffalo Bills and they had Josh Allen. And that was it. That's all it took. Those days are over. The league adapted. Teams know that if they shut down the rushing attack, our offense isn't nearly as explosive as it was last year because we don't have any wide receiver presence, which is something they couldn't do when we had a Stephon Diggs. They changed. Well, the Bills kept trotting out all this repeated bullshit. And today it's explosive. Indy and Jacksonville exist. Indy and Jacksonville are two flawed teams that are sitting at the top of the AFC right now. They're somehow less flawed from a coaching and a roster construction and just an identity standpoint than the Buffalo Bills. Because at least they know who they are and they know what they want to be and they do it well. And when they need to punch, they have the skill to throw haymakers. Brian Thomas Jr. That guy hauls ass. When you need him downfield one-on-one with the cornerback, you just loft it up and let him go get it. What we used to do for Stephon Diggs. When the Colts need a play, they turn to that running back stable and they go, Jonathan Taylor, you're great. You're amazing. We can make shit happen because you're here. You have these teams, right? Like, I look at that and I say, you guys believed your own hype for too long. You believed that you were the standard of the AFC East, and the Patriots caught up to you. They drafted a quarterback, and they got a serious coach with a serious offensive coordinator who don't do fanfare and pomp and circumstance, and they don't wear cool clothes, and they're not out there with vibes, as the kids say. You know what they do? They go and they coach professional football, and they coach it hard. We got soft as a franchise because we rested on our laurels for a season. We came into 2025 assuming like, well, our talent is here and there, but why would it stop working? It's always worked. Except juggernauts came along, or at least well-coached teams with a lot of talent. Teams that have been bad. Chris, the Patriots have been bad. They drafted top talent. The Jaguars have been bad. Bad enough they drafted top talent. Now you need to be able to coach your way around really talented but underwhelmingly coached football teams, and we're struggling to do that. We are Batman when he got his ass kicked by Bane the first time he met him. You know what one of the biggest departures for me is? Like, I don't think a bye week fixes this. I think it's soul searching. Whittle! Hey, baby, what's up? You know who had it bad? Bills fans with late flights out of Atlanta tonight like me. Damn, you got stuck in Atlanta? Chris, how bad is the Atlanta airport when you can't get out?
It's terrible. It's the worst place on earth. Too bad you didn't tell us. You could have stayed at my mom and dad's.
Whittle, he would have let you stay at his mom and dad's house.
And my mom would have welcomed it.
His mom, Donna Kruger, is a saint. Donna Kruger is a saint. You don't talk shit about her. It's like, what is it? What was it from Anchorman? Fish. Oh, I'm going to take your mom out for a fish. Mantooth. Dorothy Mantooth.
Yeah.
Donna Kruger is the equivalent of Dorothy Mantooth. She's a saint. Guys, there's this thing, right? I don't think a bye week fixes what's wrong and broken with the Buffalo Bills.
Drinking will help.
Nope. I think it's soul searching. And I think that this is a roster that needs to figure out where its fire is going to come from, because it used to have it. This was a roster that used to be fueled by fire. When you think about Josh Allen having a chip on his shoulder, All those years, he had a chip on his shoulder. He never got, he wasn't scouted. He didn't get scholarships. Nobody took him seriously. Then he comes into the NFL and quarterbacks got taken ahead of him. And he's better than all of them. And then he wins an MVP and marries a movie star. And then in the aftermath of this week's game, Chris, if you want to throw that up there on the screen for people, from AJ Sabilski. What's the most fulfilling thing in your life right now, says the reporter. And Josh Allen's answer is my wife. And he goes, what has your wife taught you that you didn't know about yourself? Maybe I'm more than a football player. Okay. So Josh is already 1 foot out of the wagon. We're not going to see suicide Josh anymore. The Josh who's willing to die to get that extra inch, you know, is Tony Amato in Any Given Sunday would say. He's not going to die for that inch. Okay. Well, that sucks because it seems to have been half of our franchise's game plan. Also, when you look around, you think about it, like, who else? You have these players. You have Greg Rousseau, who finally showed up for a game. That offsides was bullshit now that they finally saw it. Like, now that people got to see it, Diggs and Poyer took the fire with him. That's it. There's nobody here to carry the torch of what was an engaged and fiery competitive football team. And Josh Allen's getting old. Somebody has to be the catalyst, and it can't be your 30-year-old quarterback. There's got to be guys on this roster who want to win and who want to be fiery and want to carry that thing on. And it's not happening. They paid all these guys early. You know, we talked about it in our pre-record that Brett Coleman from Bootleg Football and I, he has a whole spreadsheet about how much homegrown talent a lot of these Super Bowl winning teams recently have had. And the Bills are right there in that arena. The problem is none of our guys are superstars. They all underachieve by comparison to what you think they're capable of. This season's no different. Greg Rousseau has been underachieving for weeks. This is the first game where he showed up and made an impact play that mattered. And so in that way, you start to look at this and you go, well, you got paid, so you stopped working hard. You got paid. Terrell Bernard got paid. You have draft picks who aren't afraid of being cut. And then I go all the way back to the beginning of the year when on Hard Knocks, Sean McDermott opened up the second or third episode by saying, I see a lot of guys who, like, this is not championship caliber. This isn't playoff caliber. I see a lot of guys who feel like they're entitled to victory, and you have to work for it. And right now, the Buffalo Bills are suffering from that. They're not suffering. Like, again, we talked about ladder theory. You can blame literally everybody on the roster, all the way up to Terry Pagula for all of this. At the end of the day, what we're suffering from is a lack of fire, a lack of want, a lack of need, or I think a lack of fear. And for Josh Allen, it was always a fear of being overlooked, not being respected. There was a fear there was a fear of inadequacy that fueled Josh Allen until he won that MVP award and married a movie star. And all of a sudden, he doesn't seem like he's the same guy. Greg Rousseau got paid. Terrell Bernard got paid. A lot of guys got paid, and all of a sudden, that financial security, the fear that you might be jobless, went out the window. And you're watching them put up performances that are not where you need them to be. Fear can be a good thing. Mike Tyson, I think it was Mike Tyson who said it, or at least his coach Amato. Coach Amato, who made Mike Tyson. Fear is like fire. If you can control it, it'll cook for you. It'll heat your house. If you let it get out of control, it'll burn it down. There's a quote at the end, or at least towards the middle of The Dark Knight Rising, where Bruce Wayne's trying to get out of that fucking well. He gets stuck in that prison, and he goes, here's the problem. You have hope. And he keeps trying to climb up, and he keeps trying to climb up, and he keeps failing. And the guy sitting in the cell beside him goes, you don't fear death, and you think that makes you strong. And I can say that. I don't fear death. I've faced it God knows how many times, which is crazy to say as an idiot behind a microphone doing a podcast. I have survived my own mortality more times than I can count on one hand, maybe even two. And in doing so, it's given me a level of comfort with this idea that I can survive anything. Everything's going to be okay, because why wouldn't it be? It's always okay. Every time I make poor decisions, I come out the other side of it in one piece. Why wouldn't I be okay? And that guy looks at him and says, it makes you weak. How can you move faster than possible? How can you fight longer than possible? How can you do the impossible without the most powerful impulse of the human spirit, which is the fear of death? When I think back to the Buffalo Bills, this is a team that lost its fear. They just assumed if they showed up, they could win. They just assumed, hey, we're well coached, we think. We have the talent, we think. It's happened before. We've done this again. I even see fans today on Twitter going, well, last year they did this, and last year they lost to Baltimore and Houston, and they had 2 embarrassing losses. They went into a bye week, and they figured it all out, and everybody was happy. Can you do that again? I don't know. The AFC is a lot harder than it was last year. Things are harder. You're not where you were when you lost last year. Your own division is not yours anymore. When you lost last time, you were still in the driver's seat for the division, Chris. That's gone. Mm-hmm. So now what? Like, I'm not trying to be romantic about a football team. I think corrections of appointment for some unqualified people need to happen, either now or in the offseason. I think that there needs to be roster construction changes. I think philosophically the Bills need to take a long look in the mirror and think about what they want to be. But none of that's going to happen this week. None of that can happen in a single week. So all you can do is look in the mirror and go, can you find that fear? Can you find that fear that might drive you to success? That might drive you to accomplish anything? Find your fire, your passion for this thing again. Instead of looking like a team just going through the motions and expecting that your opponent will allow you to win. I don't know. Like, on one hand, this has the makings of the worst Bills season we've seen in the Sean McDermott era. On the other hand, maybe being in this position is what it takes. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the wake-up call. Being in the well with no guide rope, knowing every week you're going to jump from one ledge to the next ledge to the next ledge, and every single one of these wins, you're going to be under the gun, and you're going to be looking up at somebody else who owns the AFC East now. They've taken your title. I don't know. You're going to have to try to climb up out of hell this time. And maybe that's the thing that gives them that spirit that they need to dig in and make it happen. I don't know. I'm not overly optimistic. We have a mountain of adversity in our way. Injuries are running rampant. The rosters, the coaches are fighting with each other. But it's a start. And I hope I'm not wrong. I hope that it's this thing. I hope they embrace it. I hope they all find that fear of failure again and get back to being the winning football team we know they can be. The bye week couldn't have come at a better time for this fan base, for these players. I think we all just need, it's hilarious to see Sean McDermott making a ground zero reference during a press conference, which shows you that he has given that whole fiasco no thought, Chris. No thought. God bless him. They got to figure it out. When Sean McDermott says he doesn't see any big changes coming and that the answers are in the room, yeah, because they have to be. This is it. You're either going to die during the climb or you're going to find yourself in the sunshine again. Go start the work. I can't wait to see it. Guys, this has been so much fun. I can't wait to come out of the break refreshed. We can all say a healthy, Chris, say it one more time for all the listeners.
Goose fraba.
Do yourselves a favor. Say it at home one time. Just say it to yourselves. And we will see you back here next week. But for tonight, we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This has been your Rockpile